Stop right there. Yeah, you. If you like all things entertainment, current events, or Hollywood, then look no further. Creator to Creators, hosted by director Meosha of Horror Noir, interviews filmmakers and creatives from around the world. Join in on the fun, guest celebrities, and informative information to have as a creator. Hit subscribe and stay connected to Creator to Creators. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators today. Today, we have a special guest.
Kiya Cole.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, of course, of course. I mean, I thank you for coming on and sharing your light with us today. I love just, really starting from the beginning, just really quick, a little bit about like your childhood, and then, and how did you get into the things that you're doing now?
Oh wow, my childhood. Okay, so I live in California now. I'm in LA, but
Okay.
I'm originally from New York. So I grew up in New York City. So I mean, childhood was pretty good. Grew up in a pretty much like a blue collar, you know, um, pretty good childhood. I'm one of four kids
Nice.
that are in the house. I'm the second oldest. And yeah, like my childhood was, I grew up on Staten Island, New York, and it was just a whole bunch of us. I lived in this high rise, like a 19
Nice.
like four apartment. There were two big high rises. So both of those buildings had so many kids. So it was just a bunch of us from boys and girls, like playing outside, tomboy stuff. Back then you couldn't keep us in the house, right?
Right.
But yeah, it was that with my younger sister. So she's a year younger than me. So we were always together doing things with our friends. And yeah, mom tried to, she was a single mom for a while
Hmm.
and tried to incorporate like the arts into our lives. My
Yeah.
mother grew up very poor. She's one of 11. So she
Wow.
didn't have a lot of opportunity at all for anything. So she tried to make up for that by instilling that into us. Even if she struggled, you know what I mean? Like my mother was the type of mother that would like cheat on her taxes just to make sure we had what we wanted.
Wow. I love that. It's
So
beautiful.
yeah, from ballet, and I think at one point she tried to like get us into commercials or things like that. It was never a passion of mine. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I love the arts. That's kind of like the part of the brain my brain gravitates to is the arts. I was pretty good academically as well, but like anything that had to do with like dance was like my first love.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah, so
I can
look,
see that.
dance for anyone for free because that's how much I loved it. And back then too, like dancers were not making a lot of money. And if you're talking like even like music videos, they
Oh,
were
yeah.
not making a lot of money. But I didn't care. Like I could have did that for free and just been in heaven.
Oh, I love
So my
that.
mom was pretty diverse. Like my mother tried to give us opportunity. She was very strict though.
Hmm.
Like had to get good grades, had to keep the house clean. And of course, when she's not home, no boys, no company in my
Right.
a couple of times we got busted having friends at the house when she got home from work. Yeah.
Aw, no, that's a great childhood. That's awesome that she was very encouraging for like to you guys to explore that part of being in the arts and being creative. I think that's a
Mhm.
beautiful thing. Yeah, I'm from originally from Florida, so I left Florida at a young age just to head on to like California. I did the whole thing there for 12 years. I was like, all right, after COVID, I was like, I'm out. So
Yeah.
it was
It's
just,
tough. It's really tough,
yeah,
to get footing, find especially like so it'll bring you up to speed. Obviously, we'll get there, but that's kind of how I ended up here. Like,
yeah.
I have a daughter, and we'll get to that. But I've actually been here 12 years. I just made 12
Oh,
years. hmm
awesome.
And
How does it feel? 12 years.
you know what? People, it's so funny because people go, "Oh, you're Angelino now." I'm like, "No, I'm not." Right? Like, I love when I go places. Like I was just at an event the other night, and I love going places. And as soon as I open up my mouth and I stop talking, they're like, "Where are you from? You from the East Coast?" And I'm like, "Yup." Even my license plate, it's like it's a custom plate, and it's dedicated to the East Coast. I'm like, I
Love
can't say
it.
this, but it is. Yeah.
Love that. Love that. Well, now that, well, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people know, like, I would love to talk about too, like you said, you have a daughter in the business. So, mommy manager,
Mhm.
how is that? How is that? Is that a difficult world? I mean, you have your Beyoncé's out there and Tina Knowles. I got to meet her and how she is very involved in her daughter. I don't know, like the ins and outs. I'm sure it's pretty difficult.
Ooh, I mean, it can be because, that business can be very fickle, right? And everything comes in waves when you're dealing with the entertainment business, as you know, right? You
Yeah.
have your highs and your lows, so everything is constantly like this. It's never up here, it doesn't stay up here forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So quick backstory to that. Living in New York City, met her dad. At the time, I just had a job.
Yeah.
I was at the post office, but I made good money. I had great health benefits. I had my own place in Brooklyn, so I was doing okay. Then I met her
Yeah.
dad, and we kind of fell for each other pretty quickly. I also met him at the post office. He worked there, but we didn't work
Oh.
together, so that would have been a little too messy if we worked together. But a lot of girls liked her dad. Like here's this muscle bound guy that was new. Anybody that was like new and cute that showed up at the post office, it was like everyone flocked to them. Like, okay, they were like kind of like fresh meat, right? So anyway,
Right.
hit it off, and he was quiet, and I was kind of quiet. Um, then we had her, and I was living in Brooklyn. Um, Long story short, I knew pretty much like once right before she was born, the trajectory of our relationship just was
Mhm.
shifting, not in the positive way. So I pretty much knew that I was like, okay, I don't want to marry him.
Right.
Like I'm grateful for us bringing a blessing into the world, but I pretty much knew that this relationship wasn't serving me in the best
Mm.
positive way. So I kind of had to let him know, like, this is not working. You got to go. But it's not like you just got to go. Like, it was friction before that. Like it was a
Right.
build up. You know what I'm saying? So it's weird because when she was in my stomach, right? I would have, and for those who don't know, my daughter, her name is Sky Jackson. Um, so when she was in my stomach, I would have like premonitions. I would just have dreams, and I felt like, yeah, this little girl, and because I knew she was a girl, I found out the sex, and I'm like, she's gonna be something. And again, it was not my passion to be an
Mm.
artist, to be an actress, to be anything. When I was growing up in New York City, so before she was born, I take the subway everywhere because in New York you walk, you take the subway everywhere.
Yeah.
And I would get handed cards from people like, "Oh, you'd be good for this magazine," or
Mm.
"Oh, you should call me up." Like, so I got approached a lot to do things.
Yeah.
So I've done hair magazines. I've done a couple of music videos, but again, it wasn't my passion.
Hmm.
And then I had her. So yeah, when I had her, she was just a good and friendly baby. And I already had her name picked out. I didn't
Oh,
know
I
her name
love
was gonna
that.
die. Yeah.
That's
I
great.
picked out way before she was born. And I kind of got that name from, for those, some of your viewers or listeners may be very young, but I used to hang out sometimes with a group called Jodeci.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Devontae, I remember him telling me that he had a daughter and he named her Sky Blue.
Oh.
So, and this was back in the late 90s when he told me this. So I always fell in love with the name Sky, but I knew I wanted to spell it differently. So I spelled it Skai.
I love
So her
that.
name was picked out. Thank you. Yes, I had her. Flash forward now, I'm not happy at the post office. I'm actually depressed at the post office because
Mm.
I just felt like I didn't belong there.
Hmm.
And everyone that I worked with, they were women. Most of them were women, but everyone was older than me, like in their 40s, 50s. And they used to tell me that. They used to go, you don't belong here.
Yeah.
Right. So I gave myself 3 years. I was like, okay, I can't see myself doing past 3 years, but what am I gonna do? Because I'm making good money. I have like the best New York benefits. Back then, GHI was like everyone loved GHI.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, doctors, anesthesiologists, they love GHI. So I'm like, okay. So now she's born 1 month, 2 months, and my doctor kept writing me notes to stay out of work. I'm like, I don't want to go back there. Just keep, please. I want to stay out as long as I can. So my OBGYN Okay, a quick backstory about my OBGYN.
Yeah.
Her name was Dr. Syed, and still is Dr. Syed. I believe she's retired and she's doing other things. Before Sky was born, I had a huge tumor on my right ovary.
Oh,
Huge.
wow.
Yes, to where my regular medical doctor, who was a man, told me, "Oh, you're 5 months pregnant." I'm like, "What? I haven't even done anything to be 5 months pregnant." But that's how big my tumor was.
Wow.
So I go see this one doctor, another man that my doctor referred me to. He was a GYN. Big mistake. He had no bedside manner. He examines me and he's like, "Okay, we need to put you in emergency surgery right away because you may have cancer." Da 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 da.
Oh
Okay.
my God.
So yeah, at the time I probably was 24 years old. I'm sitting there crying and I'm just like, okay, I had no one there with me at this doctor's appointment. And I'm like, now I'm just concerned about how I'm gonna get cut. I'm like, okay, like are you gonna
Yeah.
get a bikini cut? He goes, "What are you worried about? How I'm gonna cut you?" "No, I'm gonna cut you straight up and down."
Oh my God. That's
Just like,
scary.
right. So anyway, he's like, okay, so my mom and my aunt at the time had this OBGYN that was like, she's like, "Kiya, you need to go see her. Have a
Mm.
second opinion. She's one of the best in the state." So I'm like, okay. But it was like she had a 3-month waiting list.
Whoa.
So yeah. So I call, my aunt also calls, and she gets me in within 2 days. I
Wow.
go see her, Dr. Syed. She does her examination. Right away, she knew I had to have emergency surgery. She's like, "I need to put you in surgery tonight." Like the
Wow.
day she was like, "Because whatever's going on with that huge cyst is cutting off your blood supply."
Oh my gosh.
So if it wasn't for her, because the first doctor, the man, also told me on that visit, he was going to give me a full hysterectomy.
What?
Yes. Cut you up and down and got to give you a hysterectomy to save whatever's going on.
Holy crap.
This doctor, she's like, "Look, we don't know what's going to happen once I look inside and, I'll determine and all that." So she ended up saving everything.
Thank
She
God.
removed the cyst. No ovaries were removed. She was taking pictures of the inside every step of the way. My mom and my aunt were both in the waiting room, and she's coming out every so often to show them what's going on. And I think she had me in surgery 3 or 4 hours.
Wow.
3, 4 in the morning. She put me in surgery at 11 o'clock at night, that night. And yeah, she saved everything. So her last name, Dr. Syed, is actually Sky's middle name, because if it wasn't for her, she wouldn't even be here. I wouldn't have
Right.
had it,
Wow, that's a blessing. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Wow.
Yeah. So back to now, Sky's a cute baby. She's a friendly baby. I'm depressed at this post office, but I can't go anywhere. I
Right.
have no backup plan. And that same aunt that referred that doctor to me also worked at the same post office at me on a higher level.
Okay.
And now Sky's about 6, 7 months old. And my aunt, all right, so at this time I was subscribed to like the baby magazines, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah.
magazine, I'm getting these magazines. And I remember there was a question that one of the moms, because they always had in the back like a question and answer. And one of the moms had asked, "Hey, I'm thinking about getting my toddler into like modeling. Can you please put a list of agencies, or where should I go?"
Yeah.
So I remember they answered back and they said, "The list will be in the next issue."
Okay.
Okay. So now my aunt says to me, "I don't know. I just have a feeling about Sky. She's such a good baby and she's friendly. And you never know. I see kids all the time, and you never know. One day she may end up taking care of you. I just feel like you should send her pictures into one of these agencies." So my
Right.
aunt said, right? Coincidentally, now I get the next issue. So now that next issue has like a list of 10 modeling agencies that take babies in New York City.
Nice. Nice.
So what do? I reach out to 2 of them. I remember one of them was Wilhelmina Models, and the other one at the time was Generations. It's one called Generations. And I just took Sky to like J.C. Penney or something.
All right.
The little pictures taken at J.C. Penney. And I remember, I think she took those pictures at 8 months old.
Oh.
And yeah, she was such a cute little thing. So I sent her pictures off to both of those agencies the same day. 2 weeks later, they both called me the same day, 2 weeks later, both the
Holy
agencies.
crap. Holy crap. That's crazy.
So Wilhelmina calls me first. So I've already made the appointment with them. Then Generations calls me like 2 hours later. And I'm like, oh, thank you, but I already made an appointment with Wilhelmina. Like, okay, if you know, we'll leave the door open. So now Sky's 9 months old. She just turned 9 months, and I take her to the meeting with Wilhelmina, and they fell in love with her right away.
Oh,
She starts working 2 days later.
that's awesome.
And I had to quit my job. They told me, it was like, look, if you're going to do this with her, I don't know if you have anyone else that can take her, but if you don't, this can become a full-time job. And
That's
I had
awesome.
no one else that could take her.
Wow.
So shortly after, I just, I prayed about it and I just resigned.
That's that I love that you said you prayed about it and you just went for it. I feel like that's the thing. It's like stepping out on faith, and you already knew, first of all, that was like everything from the like this how everything came about. It's like it had, that's what was meant to happen. Like that's exactly what it is. It's like, okay, God, cool. You step out on faith, because like you said, you had a secure job at the post office, but then it's like, it's crazy how it all works out. That's awesome.
Her dad was already gone. Like it wasn't working out, and I'm like, we're gonna have to go. And then I wasn't gonna. I knew he had like options. He had his moms, he had his sisters, but he needed to figure it out.
Yeah.
So he's already gone. So now I resigned, and I remember my mom was worried. She's like, "You resigned from your job, and he's no longer living there either. Like, you're gonna end up struggling." And I said, I'd rather struggle than to raise her in a household where we're bickering, because my mother went through that with my stepfather, and that caused extreme trauma for us growing up in that house, watching my mother sometimes get her ass beat, or the fear of him coming home drunk, because he was a drunk. He was a great guy, he was a great provider, but when he drank, you didn't know what you were going to get when he walked through the door. So now, don't get me wrong, my daughter's father was not a drunk or anything like that. It's just that his mouth was a little too disrespectful, So I didn't want to raise her in that. And so I was willing to let the chips fall where they may, whatever happens, happens. So now with that being said, she starts working right away. I think one of her first 2 jobs was Parenting Magazine, and she did a Fisher Price something and something else for a high chair that also ended up in Parenting Magazine. But kid models don't even make a quarter of what adult models make.
Yeah.
Now I'm living off the little bit of savings that I have, because I saved enough. And now she's making pennies compared to what adults are, but she's working a lot. She's like, now comes the baby in high demand, right? So now flash forward, we're doing this now going on a year. She's a year old, but everyone loves her. When I think she's worked for everybody from Kmart to Sears to Walmart to every almost baby brand to, sippy cup, this and that. And everyone that worked with her, all the clients would tell me, like, your daughter is something special. We work with a lot of kids. And I'm telling you, like, I have a feeling your daughter is going to be something. Like, we work with a bunch of kids, and your daughter is going to be something.
Yeah.
So I'm thriving off of these words that are coming from people, right? But my money is dwindling, right?
Right.
So now I get to a place where I'm damn near broke. But the way that my pride is set up, I never ask anybody for anything. I'm not living with my mom. I'm doing it on my own. I'm not calling my mother for anything. Her dad, he's gone, and because he's resenting that we're no longer together, he's not even calling, like checking up on her. So now she's 10 months, 11 months, like a little over 1 year old. I think 9 months had gone by, almost 10. Well, her father did not reach out to me or her at all.
Yikes.
Yeah, yikes. So now, right, she hits the age of 2 and she's still working. I got to the point where I had to do what I had to do. So now I get WIC, I get food stamps because my money's pretty much gone. I'm scraping whatever I can to get by just to pay my rent. And I can give you two quick examples, or if I never believed in a higher power or God or whatever, how people want to call them, how I believed in God. And okay, so I'll give you an example. So now, literally, I'm asked out. I have like almost negative money in the bank.
Wow.
And my pride, and as close as we were to her booker Terry at Wilhelmina. Like I said, Sky had signed with them at 9 months old. And at this point, we had been with Wilhelmina for 2 years. And her booker would call. And back then, I took everything in a, I had an appointment book,
Yeah. Yeah.
So this one particular time, her booker calls Terry. And she's like, oh, I got good news. Like, get your pen and paper ready. Like, Sky doesn't have one, but she has 3 go-sees tomorrow. So for those who don't know, go-sees are in the modeling world the same as an audition for the acting world.
Right.
So a go-sees, they just want to go probably look at your book, look at your comp card, whatever you have, right? And then decide if they want to hire kids or babies or models for the job. So she has 3 tomorrow, she says. And I remember I only had enough money to get to 1. And my pride would not let me tell her, I don't know how I'm going to get to the other 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in New York, it was hustle. I was pushing her in that stroller, rain, sleet, or snow.
Wow.
So putting the plastic over the stroller, getting her from point A to point B. Sometimes if I had to get off the train at 7th Avenue, which most trains between 7th, 8th, 6th Avenue, and we had a go-see over the West Side Highway. And for those who don't know about New York City, that's avenues, right? So you're walking from 6th Avenue all the way to 11th. Now, walking the avenues is further than walking the numbered blocks. So if you're walking 436, that's faster. When you got to walk close to that water, that's a walk and a hike, right? And especially when you're pushing a stroller and then rain, sleet, or snow. So, okay, so now she's like, I'm taking down the information. 3 go-sees. I'm like, shit. So now in my mind, excuse my language.
You're good. You're good. You're fine.
Okay. Now in my mind, I'm like mapping out my route. Okay, I can get to this point, but like, how am I going to walk here and then walk to the next one? There were times I would get to the subway and I would tell the token booth clerk and lie to them and say, I lost my wallet. Like, or someone stole my wallet because I didn't have time to get on the train.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
I do what I had to do. I'm looking at my couch cushions for change. Okay, so now I don't have enough money. So we're on the subway as I get this information. So now where we used to live in Brooklyn, once the train got out the tunnel, we're outside riding the tracks outside. So now that's when my phone rings and I'm taking out information because we have service. And I'm just thinking to myself, God, like, make a way. Yeah. I'll get her there, but I'm figuring out this map in my head. Okay. So now I get off, it's our stop, right? I'm getting up to get off the subway. And I don't know if you've ever ridden the subway in New York, but people are handing you flyers all the time. Like, here, take this. And half the time you go, no, thank you, right? So I'm getting up and I'm pushing her to go because the door's open. And there was this beautiful black older woman, really brown skinned woman, who just goes, she's tapping me like this, like here. And I'm like, oh, okay. And she's like, here. And she had her hand closed and I'm figuring she's handing me a card. And she's like, here, take this for you and your daughter. I'm like, okay, lady. She was pushy. So I get off the subway and the door's closed behind me. And I open my hand and the lady gives me a $20 bill.
Oh, wow.
And I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking about it.
Beautiful.
Because there was no reason for that lady to give me any money. Let me tell you something. My mother was not the best on showing affection and love, but the way my mother showed affection and love, because like I said, she grew up poor, she would buy us things all the time. So my mother sometimes every 2 weeks would come home for something new for us to wear, whatever, from Conway or wherever it was. Me and my sister, a year younger, we never shared a stitch of clothing, not a shoe, not a nothing, not a earring, not a nothing. The only thing we shared was a bedroom. And I'm saying that to say, I could wear clothes for 3 months straight and not repeat anything. That's how much clothes we both had.
Wow.
So because of that, right, that kind of stuck with me and it kind of instilled a bad habit. So when I was making decent money, I was shopping all the time. Yeah. My little girl, wore Italian leather shoes. And, so my point is that there was no reason for that woman to hand me that money because I didn't look destitute. I didn't look broke. I didn't, get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that
So
was a God
knew
thing.
that was a God thing. God was like, this woman, she needs this. Like she got it. She has to get to point A, point B, point C, because God had a bigger plan. Because there was many a times I kept saying, I got to take Sky out because I'm not surviving. I got to go back to work.
Wow. That is, thank you for sharing that, because that's amazing. Wow. I'm trying not to get emotional because I feel you. Like it's this business is tough. It's tough business. But the fact that God, it's always, it's never when we want it, but it's always God comes right on time. Like I don't know how to explain it, but it always makes a way. Like,
Girl, when I tell you something, that was the first time. Quickly, the second time, it was the same scenario. I
yeah,
went to visit my mom on Staten Island, and my rent I was almost at the end of I knew I was going to have to leave my apartment in Brooklyn. I was not making it. And I'm getting off the ferry with Sky. And on the ferry, I get the same, almost identical phone call from her booker again. And she still knows that I'm not struggling. She doesn't know anything. And the same thing, she's like, oh, take this down. And it was 2 that day. She goes, Guy has 2 go-sees tomorrow. And the same thing, I go, damn it, why can't I just tell Terry I can't bring her tomorrow? I don't
yeah.
have the money to get there. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I'm pushing her off no, actually we're walking. She was old enough to walk. At this point, she was 3 years old. And we're walking to the train. And it was early morning. So you had people it was rush hour. Remember, it was rush hour.
Yeah.
And there were people going to work. And we're downtown Manhattan, like close to Battery City, right? Near the Staten Island Ferry. And all of a sudden, this Caucasian man in a suit on his way to work, he goes, excuse me, miss. And I said, yes. And he goes, that man over there is calling you. And I'm like, what man? So I turn and look, and it was a homeless man, tattered, battered, dirty, whatever you want to call it, laying on the ground on top of a cardboard with his cup, with his sign out. And it was a homeless man waving to me, can you please come here? Homeless. No. And I look at him and I'm doubtful. And I'm like, I'm not over there. So he goes, no, please. Can you please just come in? And so now the white guy who stopped me is curious, like, why is this homeless man? Like, what's going on? So I inch my way over there and I have my daughter like behind me, like stand behind me. Like, and he's like, no, I don't mean any harm. I just wanted to, he said, please, take this for you and your daughter. The homeless man was trying to hand me a $10 bill.
Wow.
And I said, I can't take that. He said, no, you have to. He said, please, please take this for you and your daughter. That was God.
That was God. Wow. That's amazing. But the fact that, you've overcome so much and I mean, you can see it. I follow your stuff online. Like you're an inspiration in your own, like in your own right. Like, holy crap. I literally am like, I'm working out more now because I be seeing your posts. I'd be like, holy crap. What motivates you to stay fit? Yeah. I mean, you look amazing. Like, holy crap.
Thank you. Okay. What motivates me? Okay. Number one is my health, right? That's number one.
Yeah.
I'm a single mom. And I always put myself back into when I moved to LA, when we finally got the call, because Sky wanted to come out here since she was 5. And I always said, oh no, we can't afford that. And the only way we're going to LA is someone sends for you. And that's just that happened. She was already a working actress in New York. And then we get the call from the Disney Channel, because she had auditioned for the Disney Channel in New York.
Nice.
And then we forgot about it. A whole month went by. And so anyway, we get the call, and lo and behold, we had to move here. And anyway, but when we moved here, I gave up my health benefits. I had no health benefits because my benefits only covered me over there on the East Coast.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So now I come here and I have no health benefits. I'm a single mom. At the time she was making, look, comparably to the average American these days, decent money, right?
Right.
But no one back then taught me about corporations, anything like that. So she's being taxed out the union. First of all, the first time I ever did her taxes when she was 2 years old, I walked into, I think it was H&R Block or Jackson Hewitt. It was one of them. It was Jackson Hewitt. And I walk in there and they go, yeah, how can I help you? And I'm like, oh, I'm here to do that. Okay, great. I said, oh, for my daughter. They go, well, okay. How old is your daughter? I said, 2. 2. Like,
Oh man, I love it.
so they're flipping through books, like trying to figure out and making phone calls. So anyway, so that being said, I come here with so I knew I had to stay healthy, right?
Yeah.
So I always worked out a little bit in New York, off and on. I did, but when I got here, first of all, you're in LA, right? It's a land of everyone wants to look good, everybody's eating organic and everything. So you kind of fall in line.
Yeah.
But what really kickstarted, so I eventually did, after a few years, I had no health benefits for a good, I want to say 5 to 6 years after I moved here.
Wow.
Because the unfortunate side of that is these kids who are working, they're taxed like adults, no different.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And they're taxed like adults. They pretty much had a household if they're making more money than you.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I feel like the union needs to change this law. They cannot, you cannot be a dependent when it comes to their health benefits. So she had full health benefits through the union, full health benefits, but could not cover me.
That's crazy.
But if it was opposite, and I was the adult and I'm the breadwinner, I could put her on mine, right?
Yeah.
But she could not put me on hers, which sucked. So 2020, now we're all home. I'm working out now, but now we're home. COVID happens. We're all on lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what really kick-started the day-to-day nonstop working out, was the fact that, we're all at home. I feel like, damn, like I started to get anxiety. Like the gym was shutting down and I'm like, shoot, like I feel like I have no control over anything right now. We don't. We're all stuck at home. And I remember calling up one of my old trainers at F45, because he's at home too. And he was working out in his garage, to stay fit. And I just called him up and I was like, dude, I'm like, I can't take this. Like, I'll pay you. Like, can I just come work out with you in your garage? Because he had all the equipment. Remember back then, you couldn't even get equipment on Amazon. It was like one dumbbell was like $75.
Right.
So I'm like, so anyway, that's how it started. I would go to his gym in his garage, his little makeshift gym.
Yeah.
I'm paying him. Thank God I had the means to pay him.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just post. And this is before Reels. This is before Reels was a thing.
Okay, nice.
People were still doing slides and things. And I'm following people like Jeanette Jenkins, who's inspiring me. I'm following Marcia Arias, who's inspiring me. I'm following Jillian De Leon and a whole bunch of other women. Zuska, all these women that I'm like looking at them like, damn, now I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
And so working out with him, sometimes we'd be silly, we take dance breaks and he would just record me taking a dance break and I put it in my story, right?
Yeah.
I would have people look at my story and go, wow, like you're working out, you're inspiring me. Like you should keep posting these.
Yeah, definitely.
Then Reels becomes a thing as we're working out. It was 15 seconds. Remember when Reels was the first thing? You could only do 15 seconds. So me and him started doing that and I would put it in my story.
Yeah.
And then it went to 30 seconds. And so from my recognition, like what I remember, all these professional girls who are certified and they have their brands and they're doing workouts, they were still doing slides, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like the first one that started doing Reels, my workout videos to Reels and music.
Nice.
And I was monetizing off of it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that's what, then now, because now I started posting it on my page, it's the feedback that I get from people like you just now. And people say, oh my gosh, you're inspiring me. I'm like, really, me? And they're like, yeah, we've been following you from the beginning. You're inspiring me. So that keeps me going because half the time I don't like looking at myself.
What?
But I don't, honestly. I don't. I'm too critique. I critique myself. You're talking about somebody who dealt with bad body dysmorphia at one point.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know if you saw that post. And I'm going to be 100% right now because that's the only way I know how to be. And I'm very transparent of a person.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you saw that post I posted last week, actually a few days ago. And I was holding Sky, and I said in the caption, and you could see like my shoulder bones, you could see more of you kind of could see my chest bones a little bit. And I said in the caption, this was at a time when I was abusing like weight loss aids and things like that. And I said, because I dealt with someone who's very well known in the music industry, who told me repeatedly that I was fat.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
So this is at the age of 19 and 20 years old that I dated this guy. Coincidentally, and I say very coincidentally, after I posted that, an hour or two later, Cassie's bombshell comes out, right? About Diddy, right?
Yeah.
That post that I posted and that caption that I wrote was about Diddy.
Wow.
He was the one that I dated back in New York when we were young, and told me, and he was the only one in my life that ever told me that I was fat.
Wow.
And I said, well, how ironic is that?
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow. Yeah, no, because I did hear about the whole, and not to get into the P. Diddy thing, but that whole situation that came up with Cassie and all these things. It's like, you just never know. You just never know.
You never know. But again, that was her story to tell. I don't have that deep of a story. I mean, there's always stories, but nothing like that deep. You get what I'm saying? Like, he was very demanding, very, forceful. But me, look, back then, I had attitude, honey. So it wasn't like I let any man talk to me any old kind of way.
Yeah.
So I was quick to come back at you. So that we didn't last that long because I had too much mouth for that, But the one thing that stuck was that telling someone that they're fat. And even though he probably really didn't mean like harm, you get what I'm saying? But when you're young and dumb and you don't realize that how much of a lasting effect just words can have on someone. And I didn't realize it until I had to reflect back on it. Like, why am I taking laxatives all the time? And why am I, it was because it was that. It was him telling me that I was fat. No one had ever said that to me before. And I wasn't even fat. I was probably 5 to 6 pounds heavier than I am now.
Wow. No, but I mean, seriously, what's your sign, if I may ask?
I'm a Pisces.
Okay. Nice. I would have thought Leo for some reason. I don't know why I was getting Leo vibes, but no, I love it. No, but I mean, I really love what you're doing with your platform. It's like I said, it's super inspiring because I mean, you don't just to see someone that's getting up and doing it and putting videos out, and the constant, like, it's like, you can do this. I mean, I was on it for a little bit, but then I don't know, after COVID happened, I just kind of lost a little bit of like my but I'm getting back in there. So
no, I thank you all the time. So I also have like a subscription site, and there's only a handful of women that, and for me, it's not about the money because they're only paying $4.99 a month, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's more of feeling like I'm helping. So right now we're a few months in, and actually when I get off here with you, I have to go live with them. Okay. And I go live with them, and I just help to hold them accountable. I have, some of them are losing weight. Some of them, the first time that they're ever working out like this. And we talk about nutrition, and I make sure, like, okay, like, did you work out yesterday? And what did you do? And then I kind of help them find too, okay, if this is not working for you, change it to this. So yeah, like, that's what keeps me going. Like, it's weird to me sometimes if I go to other states and somebody says to me, I follow you on Instagram. I'm like, you do? They go, yeah, you and your barefoot workouts. I'm like, okay, now I'm barefoot, so you tell the truth. Yeah. So, yeah, like, I was in New York this past summer and I got that a few times. Like, oh my gosh, I follow you. And I'm like, you do? Or I get, aren't you Sky Jackson's mother? I get that a lot.
Uh-huh.
And with that being said, like I said, I'm glad that, look, there were a lot of rough times getting to where we are today.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't change it for anything at all. New York kind of beat us up a lot. So that's why when we got the call to move to LA, I was all about it. I was nervous because I had never been to LA and I'm moving cross country with my daughter and I don't know anyone. But I was ready too, because I felt like, damn, we took a beating in New York because it was tough. Like, just people don't realize, right? When they think about the business, they think,
The glitz and
well,
glam.
glitz and glam, you're rich, you're this, you're that. And no, far from rich. We were a little child. When the more money you make, and I remember she was 6 years old. And remember, I had been doing her taxes since she was 2.
Mm-hmm.
And she was 6. And at this point, I had an independent tax guy. I wasn't going to Jackson Hewitt and stuff anymore. And I remember he called and he's like, oh, I got good news and bad news. And I'm like, okay, great. Like, what's the good news and what's the bad news?
Yeah.
He's like, good news is she made this much this year. And then when I heard the number, I'm thinking to myself, really? Because we didn't even see half of that.
Wow.
Because that's how much taxes you're paying out, right?
Tax is crazy.
It's crazy. And he goes, but because she made this much, she now owes this much in taxes. And I'm like, what? Like, where am I getting that from? You know what I'm saying? So, there was times when we were back in taxes, because I'm trying to pay rent, take care of us, feed us. I already done for my job. And her money now is, and that's another thing too, I'll just say this. So for those who don't know, I was happy, and because I always felt a level of guilt. But I will say, because I was doing it on my own. Like, so if I took her to go-sees or auditions, because at this point, she went from go-sees, and then 3 years old, no, actually 1 year old, she did her first commercial. And then now she's auditioning more, right? But I would go to these auditions and see these moms. A lot of them were Caucasian. And this for them was like just a hobby for them. Like taking their kids. A lot of them had well-off husbands. They were doctors and, whatever, lawyers, a lot of their husbands, and they had their big diamond rings on. And I'm sitting there knowing I'm here now because this is our livelihood.
Right.
You're here because this is just a hobby for you and your kid. You get what I'm saying? Even though Sky, at a young age, she never looked at it as work. She always looked at it like that was her playtime. She loved what she did. She would say though, just go, I'm going to work. Her work in her mind was going to try and put on clothes.
Right.
But when she got to the age where she could understand anything, I was always open and honest with her, and maybe too honest about what was happening. We would have money conversations. Yeah. Because I never wanted my child to ever resent me. You hear the horror stories, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I was always happy that they had that law. In New York, they had a law where you had to open up a trust account for your child who was in the business. And by law, 15% of whatever they make. So let's just say if they got a check for $300, 15% automatically goes into that trust.
I got you. Yeah.
Right. So I was happy about that because I was like, okay, good. Like some of her money is being saved for good for her for the future. Right. And I remember when my aunt said to me before I put Sky in it, and she said, I don't know, I have a good feeling about Sky. I have a feeling one day she may take care of you one day, right? My thought process, that was not mine. My thought process at the time was, okay, I work at the post office. I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but I just hope she makes enough money to go to college. Right. I want her to be able to pick a college that she wants to go to, and not me not have to, or her not have to worry about not being able to afford to go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was my driving force for putting her in. It wasn't, oh, I missed out on my calling. Let me see if this works for her. None of
Mm-hmm.
that. So now that she's doing it, and a lot of her money is going to this trust account. Now when you move to LA, they have it's called the Coogan account. It's the same thing as a trust, but the trust in New York is not valid here in LA. So
Right.
she still that one in New York, but that money's just sitting there now. So now I had to open up a separate one, which she was 9 years old when we first moved here. And 9 years old, I had to open up another one with 15% of her earnings from the Disney Channel, from anything else she's done, commercials, whatever's going into that trust account. And I'm happy about that, you know?
Yeah, no, you're right. It's the business side that people don't see. Like, so I appreciate you going into that, because I feel like a lot of times people just want to get into this business and not know what all this other stuff is. Because I mean, that's what it is. After I went to film school and got my degree and to do cinematography, they didn't tell us, oh, you got to pay back the stuff, the books you got to do, and then good luck, you got this degree, but they don't really tell you where to
No
go.
one
You
told
just got to
me.
figure it out.
First of all, everyone is out for themselves. So you got the agents, the managers.
Yeah.
Back when she first started, she had a manager. I didn't know what I was doing. I was new to this. So you got the agents, the managers, and they're all taking off the gross, right?
Yeah.
That your kid is booking, because that's money in their pocket. But they're not teaching me about, like I said, corporations or anything else or investments. They're not teaching me any of that. None of that. So you're just living paycheck to paycheck. And I can give you an example. I remember her first real voiceover job. It was for Nickelodeon. And I remember we got a check, and it showed you the gross, how much she made from that one voiceover job. And I remember it was 13,000 and change.
Uh-huh.
After you pay the manager, the agent, 15% go to Coogan. And because there was no corporation then, she's taxed. You know what her take home? I think maybe she got $2,100.
Wow.
And I remember I cried.
Yeah. Yeah.
And her then manager's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. But I'm like, excuse my language, but bitch, you're happy because you got off the gross.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know what to tell me. Like, and I just cried. And I was like, really, this is what it's going to be? Like, she's going to work hard and work all these hours, and she's going to make 5 figures. And then more than half of that's going to be gone. And we're going to be left with maybe not even a quarter of it. I was like, what's the point? I was like, what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It worked out. I married someone, and that's a whole nother that's a Lifetime movie in itself, and that's a whole nother show.
Oh yeah, okay? You gotta come back.
I'm gonna come back, because that'll also help a lot of women too. But the one good thing, he's the one that taught me about corporations. He taught me. And then I told him, I said, I think it's too late. He goes, no, who told you that? Like, no. Yeah. So he taught me. And then that's how, and then now we start seeing the real money. And now, you know what I mean? Yeah. And now we're able to afford what we want to be able to afford to buy, or whatever. But yeah, people don't understand. Like the show business, a little bit is a show, a lot of it is business.
Exactly.
And that's what you wish for, because when the tax man comes, when you got to pay for the union, your union dues, every time union dues comes around every 6 months, I would get anxiety.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. I mean, that's why this whole SAG situation, and everybody was like, what's going on? And there's a lot going on. A lot of things need to be changed for sure. So I think we're definitely making steps into the right direction,
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
And thank God that a lot of people too, that, she has a great team that gets on her ass. I still in her ass as her mother. Look, I was just on the phone with her an hour before this, and was in her ass on the phone about stuff, but she's smart, because you can't think that you're just going to be an actress and think you're going to be rich. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays. Long gone are the days of the Sandra Bullocks, the Jim Carreys, the Will Smiths, the whoever was popping back then that was making $20 million a film, right?
Yeah.
Who were able to stack money away and invest, because they were making $20 million a film, right? But then when you are making $20 million a film and people see that you're bankable, then you get more of the endorsement deals and all of
Right.
that because it's bankable, right? So these people make smart investments. They've gotten endorsement deals. You know, Jennifer Aniston has the collagen and the whatever, and Jennifer Lopez, the L'Oreal's, and all of this, right? So they're fine. This strike didn't hurt these people.
Right. Right.
The strike didn't hurt these people. They're fine. But the average person that works in the industry, at least 80% of them are struggling.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh,
To
yeah.
make it past the strike. And I will say this, thank God for I taught my daughter, as soon as she turned, my business hat was always on. I'm like, you got to do other things because let me tell you something. And I tell her this, and I'm a realist. You've been off the Disney Channel for 6 years. You are so freaking lucky that you're a Black young woman from the Disney Channel and the phone still rings for you. The phone still rings.
That's great.
That's unheard of, right? The phone still rings.
It is.
But she's also smart enough because I put in her head, like, you gotta have other forms of streams of income coming in. You cannot just bank on this acting thing because if you do, you're going to be asked out. So thank God and I will just say this, she was smart enough. All that work from 9 months old all the way up until she was 18 years old, 16. She was off the Disney Channel at 16, I believe, 16, 17.
Yeah.
21 now.
Awesome.
Since COVID, she's made more money since 2020 actually, and now than she ever made
Good for
her
her.
whole entire career on the Disney Channel or whatever else she's done.
That's a blessing. That's a blessing.
So she realized how lucky she is.
That's awesome. And, you know, to have a mom like you yourself to stay beside, I mean, you need that. You need someone that is also like rooting for you and not trying to like, because you're right, this business is full of snakes. You don't know who to trust. You know, I mean, I've been so many deals of like, when I first started out making like movies and stuff and the you know, directing them and then going into trying to get deals. And then you're just like, oh, there's the business side of that. Like, you know, and it's like, if you don't read those contracts, they'll get you. They will get you.
You gotta pay attention because let me tell you something. And this is no knock to Disney because let me tell you something. There was a plus and minus to being on that show, the channel. It was the pluses outweighed the minus because look, it made her a household name.
Yeah.
And that she's able to get these things, right? But they're out for themselves. They're out for the show. They're not promoting your kid. They're just promoting the show, right? But when we got that phone call when she was 8, almost 9, actually she had just turned 9, and they said, we want to fly you guys to LA. But at the time she was on a show called Bulwark Empire on HBO. And it said, you're going to have to give up Bulwark Empire before you can get on the plane to screen test her for this Disney show. And I said, what? But the show's not even a done deal. Like, how is that possible? Well, that's just their rules. That's Disney's rules. You got to give up whatever you have going on. So I stepped out on faith, gave up Bulwark Empire. They flew us on a Thursday to LA, straight from the airport, straight there to the audition.
Awesome.
Didn't have to do anything. She threw up in a taxi because Disney was being cheap. And they didn't fly us direct flight. They flew us connection flights and she got airsick.
Oh no.
So she throws up in the taxi on the way there and they bring me into a room right away. And you have to fill out this paperwork. There's no time to call an attorney.
Wow, you just gotta go.
If you don't fill out this paperwork right now, somebody's waiting right behind you to do it.
Wow.
So everything was written in stone and I just had to sign. So her first 4 years on the Disney Channel was all laid out. It was already, there was no negotiating. I didn't know, none of the parents, none of us had a time to call an attorney and come and look at this paperwork. They had all 4 years and what she was going to make all 4 years. And that was it.
Wow. Wow.
Then she got the spinoff. And then when the spinoff happened, then we were all smart enough to have attorneys and we negotiated the contracts. Right.
That's that. Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. Any advice you would give to anybody that wants to get into this business, whether it's on the acting side or whatever, entertainment as a whole?
Number one, make sure it's your passion and make sure you're really passionate and hungry for it because you're going to get a lot more no's than yeses. And all those no's will make you feel like, okay, I cannot do this, right?
Yeah.
But just know, out of all those no's, someone's going to say yes. So you just got to stay the course. Number two, and it comes to, and I can speak mostly for acting, I've had some dealings with the business industry, but more dealings with the acting industry. You never put out money. And I've had so many parents make this mistake. And I felt bad for parents who did it before they got to me. And I say, if anyone, if you want to put your kid in the business and you go visit one of these agents or whatever who says, I can make your kid a star, and they ask you for money up front, that's a scam. Because that's not how it works. The easiest thing to do, you take your own headshots. If you have a photographer that knows to go with the camera, that's great. If it's a baby, you don't need any professional pictures. You could take pictures on your iPhone nowadays, right? Just make sure nothing's in the background, nobody else is in the background, and you just upload it. Back in the day, I had the mail-in pictures. Now everything you just upload right to the sites.
Right.
If anybody asks for money, no. You do not pay anybody up front. No agent, no one. If it's a legit agency, they work out what the percentages are. I would say you don't ever pay more than 15%.
Okay, nice.
Don't ever pay more than 15%. Now, some will go for 10, right? That's what we're at, 10%, right? So if they ask for more than 15, no, your bottom line is 15. I mean, if they ask for more for 15, no, I'm not going over 15%. And if they ask, oh, you need to put out this money, no. They get money when your kid or whoever books their first job. It's in the contract. They take their percentage out of your first job. So if you book a job for $2,500, they take 10%. That's how they get paid. They get 10% of what you. That's it. That's the, like, if I can stress that enough, and if anybody's watching this, do never put out money up front. If you want to put out money, if you want to pay for professional pictures, that's up to you. You pay a photographer, an outside photographer, to take your pictures, and that's it.
Yeah, no, that's good advice.
And learn about corporations, because you can incorporate yourself as a business. You can make an S corp or whatever, and learn about corporations. Yeah, that's definitely what I would say.
It's literally where it's at. I'm actually writing an ebook right now about, how to make passive income on multiple platforms, not just, because we're in a digital world now. AI is here. We have to move with the times, and how to figure out how to like monetize on each. I mean, there's so much money out there now online. So yeah, it's a thing. It's definitely a thing.
It's a thing. And now look, like you said, like everything is social media, right? Yeah. Like now, like you don't even need a resume anymore. There's nobody's typing up resumes anymore.
It's crazy.
Anybody want to know anything about you? They go to your Instagram.
Exactly.
They go to your TikTok. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And nowadays people are getting hired strictly off of the numbers. You don't have to have talent anymore. And that's sad to me.
It is.
It's all about numbers. What this person's going to bring in this many viewers to our movie. So, okay, they've been on TikTok for a year, but oh my gosh, they have 30 million followers.
Right. Hire them.
Let's hire the movie. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's crazy out there. Yeah. It's yeah. I was just talking to an artist earlier on the podcast. And I was just saying how saturated even the music world is. I mean, there's new artists every day. There's a hit song every day. TikTok, can make you a star overnight, so it's like just knowing how to move with the times, and like you said, being a corporation. I really am like knowing the business side of that, because it is a business at the end of the day. So yeah, thank you so much.
As a business, you are a business.
Yeah.
And you treat yourself accordingly as a business.
Exactly.
So I tell people all the time, if it's just, and they go, oh, how can I incorporate myself? You can. Just find out about it. Do your research. You can. You're a business. And that'll help you with taxes and everything else. You can write off so many things. You know what I mean?
God, yeah.
You're paying for gas. You're going out to eat. You can write all that shit off. You're buying clothes. You can write all that shit off.
That's true. That's absolutely true. Oh, thank you so much for coming on. This was such a pleasure. I got so many like nuggets and things that I'm like, oh, put a pin on that and just keep that in my back of my arsenal. I appreciate your time and just your words of wisdom. Thank you so much.
appreciate you. Yeah, I'm glad this worked out. I'm glad I was
Me too.
finally able to make it happen.
I
But
know.
no, this was, and I appreciate you 100%. Like, I'm all about empowering us too and wanting to see us do well.
Yeah.
So I know we have a mutual friend. As soon as your mutual friend or our mutual friend mentioned it, I was like, absolutely. Like, I
Oh,
want to do this with her,
thank you.
you know?
Thank you. Oh, where can people find you on social media and follow you and everything you got going on?
So it's Kiya, Kiya, Cole, Cole. And everybody, people that don't know me, because it's my mom's fault the way she spelled it. Everybody calls me Kiya. They go, Kiya, and I'm like, no, it's Kiya. Kiyacole, Kiya Cole on Instagram.
Nice, nice. If everyone follow, yes, and you're amazing. Thank you
Thank
so much. Definitely
you.
come back anytime. And thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.